Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to Stars Reach. We have a little developer live stream this morning. We have a little bit of news for you. I'm here with our technical architect, Damon Osgood. Can you wave at the camera? All right, that's good. You guys all know Dave Georgeson, our game director. Yeah. And I'm Rick Reynolds, but everyone calls me Carneros. I'm the marketing director. And we actually have some help behind the scenes today from Thomas Markov and from moderators Lemonis and Lyric Dax. Thank you guys very much.
Yay.
You can't see them, but they're the ones powering all the machinery in the background. Thank you. And feel free to put questions in Twitch chat the whole time we're going. We will grab them from time to time. Dave has sharp eyes, and we'll see them too.
Yeah, if I actually look at them, hang on a second. Let me pull up the
Yeah.
screen.
Set it up so you can look, Dave. That was your cue. And and then yeah, this will be fun. By the way, we're going to do this every Thursday. We're going to do a developer interview at this time slot. For us, this is 9 a.m. For you guys, I don't know what time it is. Look at the clock in your corner. But there is one exception. We're going to be 1 hour late next week. Sorry to screw that up. Next week, Johnny Au is going to be our guest. You'll get a kick out of him. But we'll be 1 hour later. Also, we have time zone changes coming up. The US is going to slip our time by an hour, and then Europe a couple weeks later. So there's a little jiggling here, but then we'll get onto our 9 a.m. on Thursdays path pretty soon.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't want to do that. It's
I know,
a
I'm
little
trying to
time. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, Damon Osgood, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself and your role at Playable Worlds and what the hell that even means.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I'm Damon Osgood. I'm a technical architect for Playable Worlds and obviously a proud member of the Beige Walls Club. And so I've been in the games industry for a very long time, 30 years or so. I've been an engineer, I've been a lead engineer, I've been, tech director. And so they're all, just different degrees of focus on problems, technical problems. Technical architect just means that I'm at a pretty high level in this organization, and I do get to go in and do coding, and that's fun. But I stay at a pretty high level, and I look for broad solutions, and I look more long term. So I'm trying to help us get from where we are to the finish line.
Yay, we need that.
I joined the company, in June or so. So there was already a ton of software here, a ton of game already there. A lot of what's missing is turning that into a live service. And my experience at BattleNet for 10 years, is going to be useful in making that happen.
Amen. So how is a technical architect like a building architect? Or how is it different from the building architect?
Well, nobody dies if I get this wrong, right? So that's good. But it's similar in that you're just sort of looking at the whole picture, right? How the software should work at a high level, how all the pieces work together, and creating the synergy and the flow of the entire system.
Okay. We want flow.
We love flow.
Yeah. What's our philosophy on Stars Reach in terms of how the client and the server talk to each other and the cloud computing and all that stuff? I mean, give us if we were starting on your team at work for the first time today, what would be your base level briefing you would sort of give someone just to get the lay of the land? They can't absorb too many details at the moment, or they're not
Sure.
technical, but give them just the barest briefing.
Well, all right. So without getting, too into the weeds, we have, and most MMOs have a client server architecture, right? So we have the client is the bit that runs on your computer and shows you the world, and that you press keys on and input your desires for how your character acts and what you do. And then the client talks to the server. The server actually maintains the state of the world and enforces the rules of the world. So it says, the client might say, I want to run forward at 20 miles per hour. And the client says, no, you can't go 20 miles per hour. That's ridiculous. You can only go 3 miles an hour. You're walking. So, it enforces physics. It enforces, the limitations of the game. And then the server takes the inputs from all the clients, rationalizes them all, makes sure everything is consistent, and then tells all the clients what happened. And then the client displays that. And that's sort of at the highest level is what a client server game, how a client server game works. Now we have more complexity than that because we actually have two major servers. One that runs our primary game simulation, as I just described, but then the other one that runs our environmental simulation. I don't know how much people know about that, but that's kind of our secret sauce in this game is what we call the CA Sim, which stands for Cellular Automata Simulation. And that's our voxel environment running physical simulations of the world.
That's the magic about plants knowing when to grow and spread, and animals knowing how they want to behave, and water and dirt turning into mud and things like that. Yeah.
Mostly the third there. Like the animals look at where the water is. The plants can grow where there is water, but most of that is simulated in the game server. The CA Sim is really about where the water is, how heat moves around the world, what materials are in the ground and in the air.
Okay. All right. Speaking of things moving around in the air, I saw seasons this week in our tests. Where is that happening? Is that happening in the cellular automata simulation or in the game server? Or both?
I mean, it happens a bit in both. In the final iterations of seasons, yes, the environmental sim will be controlling what season it is. As the zone grows warmer and colder, more humid, less humid, etc. And that information then feeds into the game server and the game client, which make assumptions about how the plants will behave, how the animals will behave as the temperatures change, as the days grow longer, the night shorter, that sort of thing.
This might be a question more for Dave, but right now the day and night cycle and the season cycle is pretty quick on the server. Is that just for testing and it will be different when the game launches? Or is this the speed it will, or will it be different on every planet or something?
What a wonderful leading question. It's for testing. So we have really fast day-night cycles and soon to be season cycles, simply so that we can get everybody seeing like a whole year's worth of seasons in like a 2-hour play session, or multiple times if we have longer sessions. And it's designed that way just so that we can catch more stuff, basically. And then later on, we'll slow it down and spread it out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Are all the planets going to have the same cycle, or will they have different cycles?
Eventually, no. On Saturday, yes. Yeah. In fact, they're synchronized. All the planets are synchronized. So clearly they're all in the same orbit around the same sun, which you wouldn't think would work. Especially since, well, I don't want to give that away. There's some cool visual stuff that we'll let surprises happen on Saturday.
Okay, you've mentioned on Saturday twice now. Does that mean there's a new build of the game being
Oh, I didn't
debuted?
know that was a leak. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, we're prepping a new update today so that we can publish it up and have it ready for Saturday test.
Okay, well, let's come back to that one
Yeah.
because I want to ask you about the new build on Saturday and what players should expect, etc. But I still have some questions for Damon. What is our biggest challenge from a technical architect point of view between now and early access? What do we have to do to get ready for early access? What can you say to us?
There's
From your
the
stuff. Dave's got stuff to do too, but
the big obvious thing is scaling, right? We need to take this game from supporting 100. We don't even get 100 people in a game server these days. We have gotten that many when we were running only a few game servers. We have gotten that high, but we want to get this to a place where we can support a couple hundred per game server easily, right? We want to get it to a place where our game zones are much bigger too. Like we're at a 1 square kilometer right now in terms of area, and we want to be 4 square kilometers eventually. So it's a lot of optimization that has to occur before we can get to that. And then part of our our early access will just be having a lot more people playing a lot more of the day, up to 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. So there's a lot of stability we have to build for that, and then there's a lot of tooling we have to do in order to manage a 24/7 operation. We've got to come up with some concept of customer support too, like beyond Rick going and Rod going and just being there anytime everybody has a problem. So yeah, there's just a lot of infrastructure that has to happen, a lot of scalability that has to happen, a lot of things outside the game itself to support the game.
that would be nice. That would be very nice. Okay. And then once we get to early access, what's our next big challenge before launch? Before really, launch? Or are we just considering early access more or less to be launch?
Well, early access
From your point of view.
is a launch.
Yes.
But the game continues to evolve from early access. We're still developing the game, right? We're not going to be done by any means. And everything I was talking about in terms of scaling, we have to get to a certain level for early access, but we have to make that even better, as we get more and more people into the game. So that's going to be an evolution. And we call it early access because it's rough. It's early. We want people to come. We want people to play and enjoy and help us develop this game. That's why we get people in early.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. We need you guys. If you're listening, we need you. We don't just need your help on our Kickstarter. We need your help playing the game and telling us how we're doing and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And we need a lot more UI development. But I'm just teasing.
You're right. UI is one of those things that is actually never done, right?
Yeah.
You iterate on it every day of a game's development cycle, and then every day past it, you're always polishing that. That's the thing that the players touch, right? That needs to be front and center all the time. And
we had this is a leak from behind the scenes that I'm not supposed to say. Ready? We had some of our investors in the game this week, and they're playing it, and they're like, "You guys need a little more refinement on your UI, and your tutorial needs to be a little bit deeper." We're like, "Yes, We know. Yeah, we'll get to that.
In other news, water is wet.
I thought it was done.
Nothing like.
Oh. No, but they saw, they see the same things that everybody sees. They're not
Mhm.
dummies. And
Apparently,
yeah,
our investors are not blind.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we know, we know that. We know we need a first-time user experience. We need a tutorial. We need a lot more UI work. It's a long road ahead. It's a long road.
Not that long compared to where we've been.
Okay. Say that again, Dave?
It's not that long compared to how long we've gone so far.
No, yeah, I would say we're past the halfway point.
Way past. Yeah, it's like, I've said this so many times. I'll say it one more time. Like building a game is like building a pyramid. And the first few years are building the bottom layers on the pyramid. And it takes forever. And it's so hard and nothing works and everything's broken. And then all of a sudden you start getting up into the middle and things go a little faster. And then you start getting up to the top and you get into the magic zone where everything is fun to work on. And you start making game, like real game. It starts really appearing. And we're there. So, yeah, I mean, if the project was a mountain, we're on the downhill side.
All right, what's an example of a cool new technology that Stars Reach is using that some of our folks in Twitch chat might not know about? I mean, some of them might know everything, but some of them might not.
Like I said before, our biggest differentiator is this simulation, right?
Yeah.
It's in the game. It appears as voxels, right? So you every square meter is a simulated cell in the environment, and then we use tools to alter the simulation. So you can use the agitator to heat up some rock, and that rock will melt and turn into lava, or cool water and turn it into ice. And so, to my knowledge, nobody else is layering a full MMORPG on top of a cellular simulation like that.
Yeah, as far as I know, you're right. No one's doing that. Hope it's not crazy.
Oh, it is crazy, but we're doing it anyway.
Okay.
Because it's a really good idea. So now, but in the game, right, you don't see, you do see the cubes if you're paying attention, right? And you're doing the right things. You can see the cube model represented there. But then think about the smooth terrain that we have, the rolling hills, and the water that's flowing. That visualization is what we call the terrain engine. And that takes that really coarse, Minecraft-like set of cubes and turns it into a smooth and beautiful naturalistic terrain. That is, to me, is really impressive to think about.
Yeah. I remember when Dave and I joined the company a few years ago, the terrain was not that smooth.
No, I'm sure it has been an evolution. It will continue to evolve. I've like I said, I've only been here on the team since June, and it was cool when I started, but I've seen huge differences in the past 6 months or whatever. It's changing very rapidly.
In 3 weeks, I'll have been here 3 years.
Oh wow!
Yay! Anyway, good.
So one other thing I thought I would mention though is the audio that goes with the terrain.
Yeah.
Which is something that I worked on myself. And it's a work in progress. We're going to iterate on that. But the interesting problem is we don't consciously build these planets and place objects in the world, right? We algorithmically generate them, and that's also an interesting technology we could talk about. But because we don't know where the water is at design time. We can't hand place audio at design time. We have to wait until the game is running to see where the water is. And when the players go and carve trenches for the water to flow through, now the water is in a different place. So
Right.
right? And so the sound has to follow the water, which is not a problem that most games have. Most games know where their water is, and it never moves. So
I had never thought of that.
we had to build a system for just analyzing specifically, water is one case, ice is another case, lava is a case, and then having a volume of sound that is the shape of that body. That we call it a terrain feature.
I did notice that if you go into a piece of forest and you light trees on fire, you hear the crackling of the fire kind of around you as the fire spreads. And I was impressed by that.
That one is not exactly the same, but it's the same principle, right? We have to dynamically put the fire sound where the fire is.
It works.
It works, and it's different from other games again because we're building all these worlds algorithmically and procedurally. We can't just hand place objects for the most part. We do hand place a couple of things like the portals right now that allow you to go into space, or the relife stations. We hand place those, but that's going to change too. Eventually, those will be completely algorithmically placed as well.
Are there always going to be those portals, or are we just going to have spaceships? I'm not sure what's going to be in the live game.
Starships.
Okay, so those are temporary. And the first time I saw one of those, I didn't think it was a portal. I thought it was a sculpture, a modern art sculpture that someone had created. And they're like, no, go up to it. It's a portal. Oh, okay. Yeah. But spaceships, I know what to do with.
Did you see the mad sculpture I made of those one day? I was treating them like a building tile.
Yeah.
Looked like Sinistar. Yeah, no, I don't know. The portals might stay. We might have some portals. But the plan is starships. Starships. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in.
No.
And so,
Dave, I love starships.
Is the theory that you would jump in your starship and fly it up into the sky and then somehow?
We've never said that. Not once. Nobody's ever said that. We have we've always been about keeping things into pocket realities so that we can close and open them as we need them. If we had a contiguous what do you want to call it? If we had continuity between the space and the planets and everything like that, well, how would we ever close one? So if stuff isn't used, or if a planet gets wrecked and nobody wants to go there anymore and everything like that, well, then we need to be able to close those down. And as we get people in, and they want to explore new worlds and everything like that, we need to be able to pop them up whenever we need them. So we will not have seamless travel between space and planet. Even though we're
So the spaceships that you're talking about, are they just basically replacing the portals and you still would walk up to it and use it to find yourself in the space zone? Or do you just
asking leading questions when you know the answer?
No, in fact, I don't. Again, I haven't been on this project that long. You've got more documentation than I can find. So,
okay. Yeah, no, the starships. The intention is that what we hope is that the space zones will get very large. And because we don't have that much terrain to simulate in the space zones, we can make them bigger, but we haven't done that experimentation yet. If it works the way we think it's going to work, then starships can be nice and fast, and they can move around really quickly and have different responsibilities and different roles than what you can do in a spacesuit. So as the starships zip around and do all that stuff, then great. And I mean, there's a whole space zone design that I rolled out a couple of years ago that I don't know whether we're going to get to do or not. So I don't want to commit to it. But the idea was that there were deep space zones and orbital zones and planet zones and everything like that, and you could go back and forth between them. And I know that Raph eventually wanted to be able to actually land on a planet, but we haven't discussed whether that's actually going to happen or not. And it certainly wouldn't be like, you're in orbit and then you fly down to the planet. That's not a thing, especially since the servitors just simply won't allow it. The servitors have said, hey, look, there's a whole planet here, but we don't really trust you guys yet because you wrecked your home worlds and you haven't proven yourselves to us yet. So we're going to let you have this little space on this planet, and if you can prove to us that you're responsible for that area, maybe we'll open up the rest of the planet for you eventually. But yeah, no, we're not allowed to fly just willy-nilly wherever we want to on the planet.
Right. So, Rick, this is going back to you were asking, what do you need to do for early access and what do you need to do for launch?
Yep.
Sometimes things aren't even done for launch, right? There are features that we don't plan to do or won't be able to do until well post launch. And so the game will work different over time.
Yep. That's normal. There is a question from Danedrill, an old question brought up again, which is, have we thought about directional voice in game? Do we want to go back into that one again, talk about that? It's been discussed on the Discord a lot, but these folks aren't all in the Discord watching those chats.
So is that something like I can speak, voice, and the voice comes out of my avatar in the game, and you can hear it.
And people within range of it, it's calculated who gets to hear it and who not, and maybe there's a difference in how well they hear it, etc. Is that something we've been thinking about doing, or we've ruled out, or I know we've got mixed responses from players when the subject has come up. Sometimes actually mixed and with a lot of energy behind what they're saying. All right,
I've never been in a conversation in this company about this topic, so
okay.
I'm gonna have to defer to Dave.
Nope, I missed the question because I was talking in chat. What was the question?
Oh, the question is, do we want to have voice in chat? Sorry, like live voice happening in game, where people can. No, we're not going to do that. Okay.
No. God, I don't know how many games I have actually integrated voice into, and then watched the players completely ignore it because they already have applications that they're used to using, including this one. So no, we're not. I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Man, and we've done some really interesting things with voice in other games. Like disguise filters so you can sound like a different kind of person, squeaky voice or deep one, and everything like that. Nobody uses it.
Yep. I remember was it EQ2 where the tone of what you said would change your facial expressions of your character and stuff, and no one used it.
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. We should put our effort behind the stuff people are going to actually appreciate in game.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like they said in chat, let's work on the game. Ancillary features are something we can do later if we really need to.
Yep. I'm looking over here so I could see my my Twitch chat. How about an alarm system or something so not voice but audio cues for things? We do have audio cues for things. We do, Paxis. Things like finding the navigation nodes on a new planet. There's navigation cues for that. You do hear the rhythm speed up as you get closer to it and get within range. Or there are other cues that you can get in game, and there will be more. We've had Kurt on the show before, and you've heard him talk about his philosophy on audio. Kurt's a wonderful interview.
He's a deep thinker.
Lively, yeah, lively, fun, and says things that you hadn't thought of. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. The interesting thing though is if we don't want to do systems, it sounds like, that are 100% audio.
Yeah.
Because not everyone
Right.
plays with their sound turned on, right? So I'm an audio person. I always have my sound on, and I would love to have like an audio puzzle in the game. I was lobbying for our survey points to be mostly an audio puzzle, where you're listening, you've got the tool out and you're listening for the beeps and honing in on the beeps. And it's not until you're very close that you actually see them. But the comment was made that most people play with their sound off, or hearing impaired, and accessibility and all of that. And so it can't really be for a mainline core feature.
Right. I agree.
But using audio to accentuate the visuals and augment them is totally appropriate and absolutely what we do.
Okay. We're halfway through a show, so let's stop for a moment and talk a little bit about Saturday's new build. Is this? So we still have playtests today and tomorrow, but this new build won't be till Saturday. Is that right?
Wait a minute.
Do we? Let me check the schedule. Feel like we have playtests every day lately. Oh no, I don't see any.
Yeah, we don't have any playtests today or tomorrow.
That's right. Okay. We're doing maintenance.
Yep, maintenance days.
All right, sorry about that. I checked. Okay,
no. Band-Aids.
Okay, so the version that Lemonis and Lyric Dax are playing in the background here for us that we can see on screen, that's the current version, right? That's not the new build for Saturday. Am I wrong?
If they're in production, this is the old build. This is not the Saturday build.
They're on Steam, I think.
Yeah, then that's
you're not seeing the new stuff yet.
They're not. This is not the new stuff, folks, that you're looking at right now in chat.
It would be so obvious if they were seeing the new stuff.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay, go ahead. Tell us what's new in Saturday's build. And what is it called? Do we have a fancy name this time?
We do have a name.
A name. Okay, not fancy. Sorry.
It's a name, and that's all it is. I can't. Seasons, Skies, and Public Events.
Okay. Seasons, Skies, and Public Events. Just to iterate, just to enunciate a bit. Go for it. What's up?
Well, Seasons is pretty self-explanatory, and we touched on that. Skies, I'm not going to talk about. And
is it a surprise?
Yeah. I mean, we're tipping them off in the update notes as soon as we publish those. I don't know what day those are going out. Tomorrow? Today? Anyway. So we have updated a lot of the artwork that goes around the planets. So expect differences, but I'm not going to tip off anything there. And then we also have public events, which is the tip of the iceberg for content. It's what we did was we did a lot of infrastructure in order to be able to create things that are just happening in the world, whether or not you want to pay attention to them or not, they're still happening. So we have a whole slew of different kinds of meteoric events. We're repurposing the bosses that are in the game right now. We're taking them out of the permanent spawner positions we have and doing spawn events that happen in the world that you can respond to or not. Then there's also the servitors are starting to put their foot down on a little bit of the planetology stuff. So they basically go to the Transplanetary League and go, this planet, they're ripping it up pretty bad. You really need to do something about that. And so one of the first events is the TPL tells us, hey, there's really not enough trees left on that planet. we're going to do a reforestation event, and anybody that helps plant trees and stuff will get Ranger XP and little bonuses, and as well as things like titles. Like we're adding titles to the game. So when you fight the bosses, you can earn titles. You can help reforest the planet and other things. Yeah, so there's a lot of gamification that's happening in there outside of things that people are used to already.
Nice.
And there might be some improvements in the bosses. There might be, so there's something to look forward to there too. Okay. And a new boss. There's a new boss.
Now, if the Transplanetary League is sponsoring a reforestation effort, and you're a bad person, can you go in there and try to put effort in against what everyone else is doing?
Absolutely. We can't stop you.
Don't be a bad person, you guys.
No. Go ahead. Show us how the game's played. Play whatever you want to play. I mean, that's part of our experience. That's why we're doing these tests. If everybody's nice to us right now, we get blindsided in public when we go public. So yeah, it's better to know now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Marcus Midori is asking, is it possible to only craft and gather in this game? Is that an option?
That is absolutely an option. In fact, you can only do anything you want to. If all you want to do is fight, you can do that. If all you want to do is explore space, you can do that. Craft, well, crafting right now, everybody has to do a little crafting because we don't have the crafting skill trees yet. That's one of the things I'm pushing for a near update. Sometime soon, we're going to rip all the recipes out of the existing skill trees and turn them into the artisan crafting tree, skill tree. And that'll have all kinds of sub branches that you can go down. But the idea is that I sound like Rick. The idea is that crafters craft. So there's a whole bunch of thought and detail and stuff into making items, but not everybody wants to do that. Just like not everybody wants to build, like not everybody wants to fight, so on and so forth. The crafters craft. People that don't want to craft don't have to, but they do need to find a crafter that makes the kinds of things that they need, or they need to be able to eventually fulfill missions that crafters put up so that the crafters will trade them an item. Right now, we're not doing the mission stuff yet. We don't have that in the game yet. But even where we are right now, the items can be gifted and you can do honorary bargains. Like we don't have secure trade yet, but you can say, hey, I'll give you, I don't know, a modified Omni Blaster if you give me XYZ amount of resources kind of thing.
25 emeralds or something. Yeah.
Whatever the barter system ends up being.
Yeah.
And then when we start getting into the economy for real, we'll actually add credits and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Down Nomad asks, will we have official permission to create mods? And the answer to that is post-launch. Post-launch. We're not ready to talk about that.
I have nothing to say on mods.
Yeah. Yeah. Gathercraft. And Lemonus and Larrick, he doesn't mean you guys. He doesn't mean moderators. He means mods.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, no, mods are born like everybody else. You can't make them.
Yeah. Okay. The player missions and courier systems are what I'm looking forward to. Yes, I agree with that. That will be really cool.
Yeah. They're gonna be a key part of the game.
Yeah.
So you can't get all resources by just grabbing the terraformer and going digging. Sometimes you've got to find the right plants. Sometimes you've got to make things by refining processes. Sometimes you've got to find the right creatures and kill those. There will be resources that are so rare you can only find them in special adventures that only show up once in a while kind of thing. There may be resources that you can only find on wild frontier planets. There might even be resources you can only find in PvP areas. So every kind of player will eventually be important to all the other kinds of players.
Even if we have to make it happen. Just kidding. Yeah.
No, I mean, the whole idea is that the entire system is interconnected.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions, folks? Please type them in chat. We're happy to help you with them.
I see the
Today we
comment
can't even-
about building tools in every video. The building tools are in all the videos right now because, well, it's working and it's cool. The stuff that the players are doing is really, really interesting. But is the game just building? No, it's not just building. There's a lot more to it, and we're starting to expose that. We need to do a few things like we need to get grouping in, we need to get secure trade in, we need to get there's just a handful of these things like the artisan crafting and things like that. And once we have those elements in, the other elements of the game will start gathering momentum and becoming more prominent. So yeah, right now, yes, there's a lot of really cool building videos out there. But, this isn't just a building game. It's many games, and one of those games is building.
Oh, and the leadership tree. That's a good call out. Yeah.
Yep, you're not wrong about that. When we do groups, leadership goes with it.
Yeah. I am looking forward to the groups. I want to join a group, bring my healing tool and go with us in a group and and do a little bit of the Holy Trinity stuff we used to do in other MMOs and just feel it in this game, in this setting, and feel what it feels like. I think that would be fun. And I can't wait for fishing. No pressure, Dave.
Fishing?
That fishing. I love fishing in an
Everyone wants
MMO.
fishing, do they?
Everybody
I'm
wants
just
fishing.
pulling the leg. I'm just pulling the leg.
Folks,
You also
tell
have
them
to
we
be able to
want
pet the
fishing.
dog.
What'd you say, David?
We also need to be able to pet the dog.
Yeah. Or the other animal that might be in this next update.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Chris, can you grab Diesel? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes you just want to be able to pet the dog.
That's right.
The other one's too big to pick up gracefully. Oh, hi there. But this is Diesel. He's half Boston Terrier and half French Bulldog and a pain in the butt. You're going to be good.
Yeah, Tom Riker, I see your comment about the combat. One of the first group settings I think will be when we turn on the public events and the boss fights are out there. Those will be publicly available and they'll be very attractive, I think, to people. Although I need to do a little work on that today, but they should be very attractive, and we'll start to see group fights. But there will be eventually two kinds of grouping. There will be soft grouping and there will be hard grouping. And hard grouping is what you're used to in a lot of other MMOs, where you invite somebody and then go into the group and you get 5 or 6 party members and you go out in your group. And then there's soft grouping, which is you get involved in an encounter and all the people in that area are automatically grouped with you, whether you invited them or not. You share loot and things like that, and that's called a soft group. I think we're probably going to do hard grouping first, but it's a toss-up which one's easier. Whichever one's easier, we're going to do that one first. And then we'll get that in, and then we'll put the other one in after that.
Yeah. All right, cool. Nice transitions, by the way, Thomas. I saw that. That was really good. Speaking of grouping, will there be multi-role ships? I think Romitzi is meaning spaceships, multi-role spaceships.
It's a holy grail. It's not going to be at launch. I think you mean multi-crew, right?
I think that's what he means, multi-crew.
Yeah.
As opposed to being able to...
they have issues, technical issues, which make them hard to pull off really well. But we do like the idea a lot. We do want ships with interiors, all that other stuff. But what are we launching with? Single seaters. We're gonna launch with scout ships and cargo ships and fighters, and that's what we're gonna launch with. After that, well, the stars are the limit. We'll get to the other stuff.
Do you expect the spaceships to be something you can fit modules onto to choose to kind of make them specialize in certain activities or things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, starships aren't that much different than anything else in the game.
Yeah.
So, like when you're assembling just handheld weapons and things like that, you're going to be able to change a lot of the characteristics and decide what it does and affect its, range and rate of fire and all these different things. And starships are kind of like just a big gun in a lot of ways. There's some cosmetic things that are obviously different about it. And there's actually some functionality that's different. Like, for instance, your gun doesn't have cargo. But effectively, starships pilot and feel. They have their own feel, but they pilot with the same kind of controls that you have when you're using your spacesuit. And in the way that you craft them and everything like that will be very familiar to somebody who's experienced with crafting. But the crafting trees obviously are different. Somebody that's making furniture is climbing a different crafting tree than somebody who's trying to make starship engines, for example.
What about Grav-sleds? Will those be just a single thing that a crafter makes, or will they have modules that you can adjust and tweak about them in some way?
That is a good question that I don't have an answer for right now.
Oops. Okay, sorry.
No, there's no reason to expect that it would be any different. We allow a lot of customization, and there should be a lot of ways that you can customize that. I just don't remember having the conversation about what we're doing with Grav-sleds, so I don't want to step on the wrong mind.
Okay. I'm excited about Grav-sleds.
Do you want to carry more fat loot?
Or carry it with style, or carry it faster, or carry it on ice, or carry it whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hover slightly above the ground if I wanted to, so that it doesn't get muddy. I don't know.
I'm sure everybody's heard Raph talk about travel fast, good slow, right? That's the kind of the mantra that we go over all the time. And Grav-sled sounds like it's a way to make things move faster, but it's not, because it moves at the same speed as you do. In fact, maybe even slower than you do if you're like using a grav mesh and stuff like that. You have flying Grav-sleds, and that's a different thing that I'm not talking about.
What do you do though if you come up to a cliff and you want to climb if you want to climb up the slope? Hopefully it will just come behind me somehow while I'm pulling it.
There will be a lot of different options that you can do in crafting.
Good. Yeah. I want this.
So I would imagine that the standard one won't follow you that well. The basic model. There's a lot of stuff like right now in the game, people are doing stuff at what we would normally consider a very advanced level. The terraformer digs much more rapidly than the basic terraformer will when people start the game. You're essentially playing with more advanced equipment, like it's a high quality equipment compared to what you'll start with in the regular game. And eventually we'll be dunking people's head in cold water when we turn it back down to the way it should be. But we won't do that until there's ways to craft it back up.
Yeah. Okay.
We also have to be in a place where we're letting people play long enough to do that, right? Like, we have 2-hour play sessions right now. It's not, we can't get to that high-powered equipment in 2-hour play sessions. So
yeah,
kind of jump-started all of that.
No, that's very true. 24/7 is going to change this game. Like when we get to that, this game will be a very different game. People will be treating everything a lot differently. It should be fun.
Yep.
There's a Gangrel in chat who is asking, are you following the Star Wars Galaxies approach, where players have a certain amount of free XP to put into training, or the Free Realms approach, where players can build up every skill tree without limit? And the actual answer is somewhere in between.
Kind of neither one.
Do you want to handle this one, or do you want me to?
No, go ahead.
All right. So you can study any skill you want to in the game. You can learn anything, you can do anything. You have to start at the bottom of each skill tree and work your way up. That part's obvious. At some point, you will hit a maximum number of trained skills that you can learn. And to learn something new, you'll have to go out of practice on some other ones that you have. You can stop and look through and pick, oh, I'll pick this and this to go out of practice, and I'll learn that instead. If you want to switch back to the out of practice ones, you can pick some others to go out of practice and then just remind yourself how to do the other ones, which is faster than learning them and somewhat easier. You won't be able to do these switches on a daily basis. The moment we're thinking about a week cooldown or so, 1 week. But the purpose of this is to leave room for some interdependency among the people so that each person doesn't turn into a single self-sufficient entity that never needs anybody else and can just do everything. That we don't want to be a massively single player game. You can play by yourself, but you need to occasionally come back and have semi-human contact, at least briefly, from time to time, just to remember what species you are. How'd I do, Dave?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Details
Alts for
are
the
important.
win. Jeez, Mosh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the obvious thing right there, like what they just said. So, like what you just said works real well if everybody's running one account, which you know they're not gonna. They're not gonna. It's a free to play game. They're gonna have multiple accounts. They're gonna have multiple characters, so on and so forth, and they're gonna swap back and forth between those and all that other stuff. But not everybody will. We know from experience that that's a percentage of our audience that will do that, and there will be a lot of other people that do interconnect and rely on other people because they've decided like I can learn everything, but that doesn't mean I like to do everything.
Right.
Some people just flat don't like crafting, and some people just flat don't like anything but crafting. And so on and so forth. So there will be different people. There will be people that are very good at doing certain things. There will be people that have the patience to do the things that other people don't necessarily want to do, because not everything's easy. This can be a challenging game at some points, and we're doing that on purpose. So when people find their niche and then they start becoming a master of it, it's not just a matter of skill points. It's a matter of doing it well.
Yeah.
I'll elaborate on that a little bit. I've spoken about crafting before with artisan crafting. Artisan crafting isn't just about making an item that has high stats. That is part of it. But the trick with artisan crafting is to build something that other people want to use. Because you, as a crafter, get the bulk of your experience only when other people use the things that you make. So if you make something that is really cool that somebody else is going to use for a long time, like a starship sensor or a really cool weapon or whatever, then you're going to accumulate little trickles of experience while people are continue to use those things. So, yay, you can push buttons and make items, but that's not really the skill of being an artisan. The real skill of an artisan is to build something that other people want. And the same is true of entertaining. The same is true of leadership. You can't earn leadership experience unless people are willing to follow you. So when you go out into the world and you find somebody that is really high up in the leadership skill tree, you can pretty much rely on the fact that that person knows how to be a leader. It's not that they just got their skills up. They're actually somebody that people want to follow. Otherwise, they would have no leadership experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
So the key to this game is to try to be of service, to be of benefit, to be useful to other people in some way.
Yep.
And that's where the most rewards come from in the game.
So, for example, if we went back to my Grav-sled that I'm excited about, if I load it up and start taking it across the landscape and make it from point A to point B. Is the crafter of that grav sled going to be getting XP points and a little trickle or something?
Yeah, really small trickles, but yeah. Because basically, what's going to happen is you as a player, you're going to be like, oh, this grav sled, I just got this cool grav sled and I can carry stuff around. But now I want a grav sled that has more hold. Like I can put more cargo into it. Or now I want a grav sled that can hover. Or now I want a grav sled that can, whatever. I can mount a defensive turret on. And I'm making stuff up right now, so don't hold me to that.
Hopefully it glows at night so I can see. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, stuff. And so you're gonna upgrade your craft. Well, when you do, then that original grav sled either gets sold to another player and maybe they use it, or it just gets recycled, salvaged. And when it gets salvaged, then the original crafter no longer gets experience for it. If you make a bunch of items and they go on the market, if you put them in the community market or you sell them in a mom and pop shop, which someday we're going to get a better name than that, but an individual shop that you run on your homestead, and they just sit there, you're not getting experience for that. Somebody's got to want it, which means that you need to advertise it. And there's mechanisms for doing that too. And yes, there's people that can help you with the advertising because there's skills that go around that, and so on and so forth. It's a world. It's many, many, many worlds.
Yes.
All in one game.
And they're playable.
I see what you
Sorry. Well, we don't have too much time because we have another meeting at work at the top of the hour. And it looks like Raf's going to be late for it, and we don't have Rod, so it's kind of you, Dave. So
okay, I guess I better go.
I better just warning you that we're coming up on a hard stop here in a bit. Yep. Last chance for questions if folks have them in stream chat. We have a new build this Saturday. We'll put out the test notes in advance so you could read them and get a little excited like we are. We still have a Kickstarter running. I appreciate that. Also, we're on Twitch TV live at the moment. If you could kindly follow the channel here in twitch.tv/PlayStarsReach. That would help us. We're going to get ourselves certified for the next level of Twitch membership, whatever. Thomas, you can remind me what it's called. And then, thank you very much. That helps us. We appreciate it. We want to do more of these every Thursday morning at about this time. And then we'll do some on weekends and stuff too, and ad hoc when someone gets a little time and can stream and jump on the channel. So we appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Lemonus and Lyrics for the dance demonstration in the game and for playing all morning. Yep, appreciate it. And thank you, Thomas, for the engineering support and the new template you guys have made. I like it.
No problem.
I like the grass moving in the background. Yeah.
Cool.